Hello my friends, Waking Until 2001 coming at you today with another toy review. This one is a toy that I have long searched for. It is the Studio Series Arcee from specifically the Transformers Bumblebee movie Arcee, i.e. the good one. Yeah, there have been a lot of Arcee toys and a couple from the movies. There was one from the 2007 movie based on concept art, which wasn't bad. Then there was the Revenge of the Fallen Arcee, which is one of the worst Transformers ever made. Then again, that was just like the design was terrible, the toy was terrible, and her role in the movie was terrible, so that thing had no chance. They did a remake of the toy that was accurate to scale, but didn't look any better. And finally, years later, they made this version, which is actually more like, you know, the G1 design, but in a realistic movie look-alike. Her box is cardboard with an open window, like one of those plastic conserving affairs. And then you have a nice close-up of her face on the one side. And on the back, you got a picture of her in her robot mode and her vehicle mode. Let's see. Arcee loses contact with the Capitol as the Autobots are overwhelmed by Decepticon forces. It includes backdrop, big screen and tire, inspired. Yeah, so that's all she wrote about the box. It's a good box. So let's take a look at the figure itself. Okay, so getting her out of the box, there is one thing. She's a slightly mistransformed in the box, mostly to keep her on the card back. But there are a couple things you should know. One thing is that I thought her feet weren't pegging in properly, but that's because there's a really subtle bit of her transformation. It's right here. This is a hinge, and it's supposed to be unpegged when she's in robot mode. Fully pushing it in so that it's like that is for her vehicle mode, but then it makes her foot not sit right. So you gotta keep it, you gotta unseat it just a little bit so that her shin has just a little bit of curve to it, and then the figure is much more natural. It's very subtle, but that's something you gotta pay attention to. Aside from that, this is probably one of the best Arcee figures I've seen. Sure, it actually just looks great. Like, I like everything about it. She kind of has like that pointy slope thing, like what animated Arcee had. She has that. She's a very nice bubblegum pink. None of that fuchsia bull crap that they try to pass off to try and make her look more like a boy's toy. Oop! I accidentally collapsed her foot. And like she's curvy without looking too skinny. She has just enough backpack to be accurate to homage her G1 design without feeling like they just dumped an entire vehicle on there. That's a very nice contained backpack that you would expect to see on Arcee, perfectly acceptable levels. And the figure itself has some pretty good articulation. So let's get in there, taking a look at her face. I don't like how there's a lot of plates so that things have to slide, and her pupils look weird. Like, they almost look like car headlights stuck into her eyes. It's a little bit weird. You know, I understand that they want moving parts for the big movie screen, but when you actually sculpt those things out, they just look weird. But you know, whatever. Her helmet is very accurate. She has a little antenna up there. That is Arcee's face. I like the movie characters always had a problem of not really having faces, so that this is recognizably Arcee's face already puts this way ahead of the curve. She has pin disc shoulders. Her left shoulder is really tight, so much so that I feel like I had to keep squeezing her chest closed like this as I move it, because sometimes when I'm moving it around, it causes some transformation pegs to come undone. Then there's a bicep swivel, and her elbow is double jointed. Oop. Yeah, there we go. Double jointed elbow. Woot. The wrist has a hinge, no rotation. 5mm hands to hold her guns. Her backpack has ball joints and hinges. So you can kind of move it around and customize it. You can stick them out more. You can... I like to keep them pushed flush against her back. I wish there was something that they could clip or peg into, because they feels like just a couple of pieces of loose kibble back there. Like they just sort of rest. They rest, but they don't peg. And that's annoying. She has a waist swivel. Yep, her backpack does nothing to impede the waist swivel, so she's already ahead of the Earthrise version. Good hips. They go all the way out, all the way forward, and all the way back. Nothing's restricting her leg movement in any direction whatsoever. There's a thigh swivel, and her knee gets a 90-degree bend. Like I said, this part of her calf is actually part of the ankle, so you can actually kind of give her an almost digitigrade leg. And her foot is on a hinge that allows it to move like in and out as well. So you can get a wide-legged stance, and she can stand just fine, even on this soft cushion chair that I use as a stage, which is kind of awesome. So yeah, in terms of her posability, her look, and her engineering, everything's great. Like I said, the only thing I don't like is how her backpack kibble, like, these two things are just on ball joints, and there's nothing that holds them except a natural resting point. And her accessories are kind of cool. Just a couple of little handguns. And this is where I feel like I can finally bring in a toy that I bought a long time ago, but never actually talked about, even though I wanted to. And that, of course, is another Studio Series Bumblebee toy. Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a Studio Series. Yes, it was. Not one of the regular movie line. And that, of course, would be Shatter, another female Transformer from the same movie, even though it was made significantly before. And even though these characters were in the same movie, don't you kind of see the aesthetic clash? I mean, like, everything is smooth and curved. It looks like the original cartoon character, just a little bit more realistic. Like, this looks like, you know, like they took the cartoon character and made it into a movie character. Well, this has a lot more of that Bayverse aesthetic going on. There's a lot more kibble, way more tech Greeble is showing, and oh boy, look at that backpack. Like, this figure is like mostly backpack. Like, wow, that's really huge. Like, their bodies are about the same size, but her backpack is like 5 times bigger, and not just because of the wings. So yeah, like, I kind of feel like this kind of shows the way that, originally speaking, they were planning on making the Bumblebee movie a prequel to the 5 Bayverse movies that had been made, and they were going with the aesthetic that they had all that time. But then at the last minute, they said, you know what? Let's just make it a reboot instead. And then they redesigned the characters to be more, you know, cartoon friendly. Sort of like how the X-Men movies, when they came out, they were like, what do you want, yellow spandex? And now when you make a movie based off of a Marvel superhero, you had better damn well make sure they look like they did in the comic books. So yeah, we did want that yellow spandex. This is the yellow spandex. And it kind of sucks. We have to wait 6 movies to get that, huh? Alright, so let's get Arcee into her vehicle mode. Oh, wait, one more thing. I kind of like it that there seems to be some kind of universally accepted aesthetic that Transformers in the movie universe have 2 toes. Kind of like Ninja Turtles, 2-toed feet. Okay, so now let's get Arcee into her vehicle mode. I decided to include the backdrop here just for the love of it, as a little platform. Now let's actually, like, I love this vehicle mode, so I'm gonna gush on it, but let's talk about the backdrop for just a second. My light seems to be oversaturating it a little bit. Yeah, you got your Cybertronian architecture. You got Bumblebee in his Cybertron mode. What looks like a Decepticon shooting over there. You know, it's a nice little standard little depiction of that opening scene, that War for Cybertron style opening scene from the Bumblebee movie, which was really cool, and something that I, again, wish we didn't have to wait 6 movies to see. But this car, well, motorcycle-ish thing, I love this. Okay, I've said many times, and a lot of people who see me in comments and other people's Arcee reviews will note the biggest problem with Arcee is that her transformation is physically impossible. Like, she transforms into a big boxy sports car, but her robot mode has almost no obvious kibble on it except for a tiny little backpack, which, you know, cannot physically be done. Like, and if you're trying, like, some Arcee toys figure it out by, like, bulking out other parts of her, like putting some of the vehicle into her legs rather than stuffing it all onto her back. Or they do like this and just give her an entirely new vehicle mode that suits the robot mode in the first place. And that's what I love so much about these figures that are based on the opening scene from the movie, because they are not beholden to any kind of official vehicle license. They can just be whatever vehicle best suits that robot mode. So the robot was designed first, they made that look functional and good, and then they made a vehicle mode that would suit the robot, which is unlike anything they'd done for the other movies. Because like with the movies, because the vehicle licensing was so important, they had to work really hard to make sure those vehicles looked as accurate as possible, even if it meant the robot would basically just be like a mechanical skeleton that curls up inside of it. Because like, I'm not going to say, I don't own a lot of Transformers movie toys, and that's basically the reason why, because I like the robot modes better than the vehicle modes, but most of the movie toys did not deliver very good robot modes because they worked so hard at making their vehicles look good. In comparison, here is the vehicle mode for Shatter. As you can see, like, as far as jets go, this is actually pretty good. She's quite a clean little jet. Like, from underneath, there's a little bit of an opening, but in all truth, from the side, that's her thigh, and that's pretty much all you can see. So, like, this is a really clean jet with not a lot of robot underkibble. I haven't seen a jet this clean since the Transformers Prime Starscream. And boy howdy does she have an incredibly annoying and difficult, unintuitive transformation. Like, I could not do it without the instructions, and I have owned this toy for quite a long time. So, yeah, like, obviously they really worked hard to make this the best looking mode. And that's why her robot mode suffered so much. The robot mode is covered in vehicle. The robot mode has a massive backpack. It has a lot of kibble. All sacrifices it made to make this plane. So, you know, I really like that we have a movie toy that primarily focuses on the robot, and then the vehicle is a secondary thing. So in Rise of the Beast, Arcee is going to have a proper Earth mode, and I think it's going to be a motorcycle, which is good. Like, Arcee does well as a motorcycle. Energon Arcee was pretty good, except for the sideways elbows. The 2007 movie Arcee was actually a pretty good Transformer for the time, and I think it owed to the fact that it was a motorcycle and not a car, so it didn't leave her with a whole bunch of backpack kibble of a car. Prime Arcee is probably one of my favorite depictions of the character ever. She was a motorcycle. So, like, keeping Arcee as a motorcycle type vehicle seems to be the way to go. So, yeah, I'm hoping that her new vehicle mode in Rise of the Beast won't compromise the thing that they had going with the robot mode here. If I were to point out any little irritations, is that she has, like, these are my hands sticking out the back of the vehicle syndrome, and she has to hold on to her pistol so you can pretend that they're exhaust pipes. But, you know, they're there. Also, that's like her robot mode chest just kind of there. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty economic. Like, you can even see her head between her legs. Although, I guess this is a decent economy of, like, if you're not a robot in disguise, why are you transforming? Why, this is of course some kind of high-speed travel mode. Like, this does convince me that this is something that Arcee is doing to get by really fast. It conveys a good amount of speed. And I like the open wheels, very Tron-esque. Haven't seen an open wheel design like that since animated Blur, which, again, one of my favorite depictions of Blur. But yeah, her wheels reach the ground, she rolls. These are fake wheels, but there's little tiny caster wheels underneath. So yeah, that is a really good Arcee vehicle mode. So yeah, that is my opinion on this. You deliver a really great robot mode, and then you figure out what vehicle suits that robot best. It's something that really could only have been done for this version of Arcee, because from this point on, every other Arcee is going to be burdened with having to be a specific, well-known vehicle. But it's nice to know that just once we escaped those shackles. So this is Wake Angel 2001 signing off.